Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. Glad to be back with you this evening. We're going to continue reading in our book, On the Banks of Plum Creek by Laura Ingalls Wilder. If you remember last time, a terrible thing had happened. The sky had looked glittering, but really what it was a lot of grasshoppers, probably the type of grasshopper called a locust. They're very big. And for some reason, they swarm every once in a while. And when they do, there'll be millions and millions of them, and they will destroy everything that they are able to reach, that grows, that's green. And this time, where Laura and them were, they destroyed the wheat crop that they had been counting on. But Pa's back to work trying to get things going. So let's see what's going to happen in this chapter. Grasshopper eggs. One day, Laura and Jack wandered down to the creek. Mary liked to sit and read and work sums on the slate. So she would work arithmetic. But Laura grew tired of that. Outdoors was so miserable she did not much like to play either. Plum Creek was almost dry. Only a little water seeped through the pebbly sand. The bare willow did not shade the footbridge now. Under the leafless plum thicket the water was scummy. The old crab had gone away. The dry earth was hot. The sunshine was scorching, and the sky was a brassy color. The whirling of grasshoppers sounded like heat. There was no good smells anymore. Then Laura saw a queer thing. All over the knoll, that's a little rolling hill, grasshoppers were sitting still with their tails down in the ground. They did not stir, not even when Laura poked them. She poked one away from the hole in which it was sitting, and with a stick she dug out of the hole a gray thing. It was shaped like a fat worm, but it was not alive. She did not know what it was. Jack sniffed it, and he wondered too. Laura started toward the wheat field to ask Pa about it, but Pa was not plowing. Sam and David were standing still with the plow, and Pa was walking on the unplowed ground, looking at it. Then Laura saw him go to the plow and lift it out of the furrow. That's the little ditch thing that it's making. He went driving Sam and David toward the stable with the idle plow. Laura knew that something dreadful would be the only thing that would make Pa stop work in the middle of the morning. She went as fast as she could to the stable. Sam and David were in their stalls, and Pa was hanging up their sweaty harness. He came out and did not smile at Laura. She tagged slowly after him into the house. Ma looked up at him and said, "Charles, what's the matter now?" "The grasshoppers are laying their eggs," said Pa. "The ground's honeycombed with them. Look at the dooryard and you'll see the pits where the eggs are buried a couple of inches deep. All over the wheat field, everywhere. You can't put your finger down between them. Look here." He took one of those gray things from his pocket and held it out in his hand. "That's one of them, a pod of grasshopper eggs. I've been cutting them open. There's 35 to 40 eggs in every pod. There's a pod in every hole. There's 8 or 10 holes to every square foot. All over this whole country." Ma dropped down to the chair and let her hands fall helplessly at her sides. "We've got no more chance of making a crop next year than we have of flying," said Pa. "When those eggs hatch, there won't be a green thing left in this part of the world." "Oh, Charles," Ma said, What will we do?" Pa slumped down on the bench and said, "I don't know." Mary's braids swung over the edge of the ladder hole, and her face looked down between them. She looked anxiously at Laura, and Laura looked up at her. Then Mary backed down the ladder without a sound. She stood close beside Laura, back against the wall. Pa straightened up. His dim eyes brightened with a fierce light, not like the twinkle Laura had seen there before. "But I do know this, Carolyn," he said. "No pesky mess of grasshoppers can beat us. We'll do something. You'll see. We'll get along somehow." "Yes, Charles," Ma said. "Why not?" said Pa. "We're healthy. We've got a roof over our heads. We're better off than a lot of folks." "You'll get an early dinner, Carolyn. I'm going to town. I'll find something to do. Don't you worry." While he was gone to town, Ma and Mary and Laura planned a fine supper for him. Ma scalded a pan of sour milk and made pretty white balls of cottage cheese. Mary and Laura sliced cold boiled potatoes, and Ma made a sauce for them. There were bread and butter and milk besides that. Then they washed and combed their hair. They put on their best dresses and their hair ribbons. They put Carrie's white dress on her and brushed her hair and tied the string of Indian beads around her neck. They were all waiting when Pa came up the Grasshopper knoll. That was a merry supper. When they had eaten every bit of it, Pa pushed back his plate and said, "Well, Carolyn?" "Yes, Charles," Ma said. "Here's the way out," said Pa. "I'm going east tomorrow morning." "Oh, Charles, no!" Ma cried out. "It's all right, Laura," Pa said. He meant, "Don't cry," but Laura did not cry. "It's harvest time back there," Pa told them. "The grasshoppers only went about 100 miles east of here. Beyond that, there's crops. It's the only chance to get a job, and all the men in the West are heading for those jobs. I've got to get there quick." "If you think it's for the best," Ma said, "the girls and I can get along. But oh, Charles, it'll be such a long walk for you." "Shucks, what's a couple 100 miles?" said Pa. But he glanced at his old patched boots. Laura knew if he was wondering if they would last for a walk so far. "Couple 100 miles won't amount to a thing," he said. Then he took the fiddle out of its box and he played for a long time in the twilight, while Laura and Mary sat close to him and Ma rocked Carrie nearby. He played Dixieland and "We'll Rally Round the Flag, Boys." He played "All the Blue Bonnets Are Over the Border" and "Oh, Susanna, don't you cry for me. I'm going to California with my washband on my knee." He played "The Campbells Are A-Comin', Hurrah, Hurrah." Then he played "Life Let Us Cherish," and he put away the fiddle. He must go to bed early to get an early start in the morning. "Take good care of the old fiddle, Carolyn," he said. It puts heart into a man." After breakfast at dawn, Pa kissed all of them and he went away. His extra shirt and pair of socks were rolled up in his jumper and slung over his shoulders. Just before he crossed Plum Creek, he looked back and waved. Then he went on, all the way out of sight without turning again. Jack stood pressed close against Laura. They all stood still for a moment after Pa was gone. Then Ma said cheerfully, "We have to take care of everything now, girls. Mary and Laura, you hurry with the cow to meet the herd." Then she went briskly into the house with Carrie, while Laura and Mary ran to let Spot out of the stable and drive her down to the creek. The prairie grass was left. No prairie grass was left, and the hungry cattle could only wander along the creek banks, eating willow spurs and plum brush and a little dead dry grass left from last summer. That's all they could do. Well, they're all standing strong, and they're going to work to do everything they can to take care of themselves. And that's something that we should try to do too when things are hard. Sometimes when things are very hard. Well, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and share these videos with others. I want to pray blessings on you and yours in your house and out of your house, in the day and in the night. And whatever you do, keep dreaming. Good night. God bless.